In the span of just 48 hours, over 30 different communities in Minnesota were hit with what state officials called a coordinated cyber attack. And this was not a data breach where personal details were leaked. No money was stolen, and there was no type of ransom demanded. Instead, this was a well-planned attack to try and cripple American physical real-world infrastructure. The critical valves, the pumps, as well as the treatment systems that deliver safe drinking water to thousands of homes in Minnesota were suddenly brought offline. You see, it all started in the city of Plymouth on Sunday night. At first, the operators there, the local water operators, they were puzzled because there were strange technology malfunctions. But then the communications at the water towers and the lift stations stopped working altogether. And soon, the operators realized that someone had hacked into their digital operations. It was so serious that Plymouth City official Michael Thompson told the local news that the backup systems had to be kicked into action.
I would say the water system is safe, and we have checks in control when an event like this comes up where we can run in manual operations just to ensure the quality and quantity of water is not affected.
That same night, similar things happened in the cities of Maple Plain as well as South St. Paul. Local water operators there were likewise forced to switch to manual systems in order to keep the water flowing. The next morning, Monday morning, a repeat performance was seen in the quiet town of Bram, the homemade pie capital of Minnesota, for your reference. Workers there arrived at the water plant expecting a day just like any other. But instead, they found that their systems were flashing red alerts and that the computerized controls which pump water from the well to the tower had gone offline. Local residents were even asked to use less water as the town's water supply was quickly dwindling, although it is worth mentioning that the local official said that both the water quality as well as the water safety was not affected. And the local mayor, he said that everything was back up and running within just 2 hours.
We never actually ran out of water, and the system was restored without really any interruption.
And so for a span of about 48 hours, starting on Sunday evening, it just kept going on like this, like a game of whack-a-mole, with a total of 30 communities in Minnesota getting affected by what was later confirmed to be a cyber attack. Now, this prompted the state's Information Technology Agency to spring into action. Quote, Minnesota IT Services, otherwise known as MNIT, stated on July 28th that it activated its incident response capabilities immediately after learning of the attack. MNIT stated that an investigation remains active and responders continue to assess affected systems. Now notice that the agency is using the word attack to describe what took place here, but very notably they're making a point to mention that the investigation into who was behind this remains ongoing, and thus far no actors and no countries have been named. Separately, the FBI also released a separate statement saying that they're aware of the incident, but likewise, the FBI also did not mention the names of any specific groups or any specific countries. All right, just to pause here for a super quick moment. If you've watched our program, Facts Matter, then you know that we focus on one thing, which is the facts. Not speculation, not narratives, just what the data shows. And right now, the data globally is pointing in a direction people should really be paying attention to, which is the fact that global conflicts are fueling market uncertainty. That's why I believe in owning something real, something physical, something that the government can't just inflate away, which is physical gold and physical silver from today's sponsor, which is American Hartford Gold, the company that I trust and who I've been personally buying from for many years now. These are tangible assets. They're not tied to policy decisions or shifting narratives. Gold has held its value for thousands of years through inflation, currency changes, the rise and fall of empires, as well as general global instability. In a certain sense, gold actually thrives in periods of global instability. And American Hartford Gold is a good company. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of 5-star reviews. They can deliver your gold and your silver directly to your doorstep, or they can help you set up a gold IRA if you're trying to diversify your retirement. And right now, when you call and mention my name, Roman, you can get up to $20,000 in free silver with your first qualifying purchase. So give them a call, 866-242-2352, or just text Roman to 65532. That's again, 866-242-2352, or text Roman to 65532. I'll also throw all their details. You'll be able to find them down in the description box below. However, looking at some context clues, it's a fairly good guess to include Iran among the possible culprits here. You see, not only are we in a don't call it a war with Iran right now. But also just days before the Minnesota attack, Iran's state-run Press TV ran a warning to the U.S. Quote, Iran's state-run Press TV, which the U.S. Treasury has sanctioned for acting as a propaganda arm of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, reported on July 23rd that the Handala hacking group warned that it will continue targeting U.S. industrial control systems. And just for your general reference, that Handala group is classified by the U.S. Department of Justice as a hacking unit within the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence and State Security. Quote, Handala is one of several public personas used by a hacking unit operating under the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence and Security as part of the agency's psychological operations, according to the U.S. Department of Justice. And it was exactly this unit, this group, that was tacitly warning the U.S. that an attack was coming, and they mentioned water as a possible target. Quote, Handala said on July 23rd, just 3 days before the Minnesota incident, that attacks targeting programmable logic controllers and supervisory control and data acquisition systems represented only a portion of its capabilities, and warned that wider campaigns could target sectors including water, electricity, and transportation networks. And this whole incident, by the way, really highlights one of America's, I guess you can call it, for lack of a better word, Achilles' heels, unfortunately, which are the local water systems. According to a report that was put out by the water technology company called Xylem, there are no lack of examples of cyber attacks against U.S. water systems. A few recent prominent examples, they include how in November of 2023, when a hacking group called Cyber Avengers struck a small water utility in Pennsylvania and gained control of a device at the Municipal Water Authority in the city of Arequipa. Then, in January of 2024, you had a Russian hacker group claim responsibility for a hacking incident that took place at a water plant in Texas, which resulted in the loss of tens of thousands of gallons of water. Then a few months later, in October of 2024, New Jersey-based American Water had to shut down their computer systems due to a cyber attack. And that one was relatively significant given the fact that American Water is the largest regulated water and wastewater utility company in the whole of the U.S., serving more than 14 million people in 14 different states, including, I should mention, 18 different military installations. And they had to be shut down due to a cyber attack. And then there is the Chinese group called Volt Typhoon, who appear to be worming their way into our physical infrastructure systems and then doing nothing, waiting for the right moment to strike. Take a look.
Volt Typhoon is a People's Liberation Army set of units that has deliberately compromised U.S. infrastructure, laying in wait for a time and place of their choosing because they want to keep us out of the fight with Taiwan.
And according to CISA, which is the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, what makes Volt Typhoon so especially effective is that they appear to be using hacking techniques which avoid the need to install malware. Instead, they rely on built-in tools that are harder to spot. Things like exploiting a weak password, using factory default logins, such as the classic where the username is username and the password is password. We've actually seen that happen before. And also, they exploit local devices in the water treatment facility that have unpatched connections to the internet. And according to the agency, according to CISA, the reason that these hackers are able to get into these systems so effectively is oftentimes because the systems are very localized, so they're not federalized. And so even if most operators follow the latest security protocols, you'll probably always have some water plants in the sticks or the boonies where they use obvious passwords, or they have some kind of unpatched Wi-Fi device on the network that'll let the hackers worm their way in. And that's actually why Mr. Josh Corman, he's the man from the video we just watched. He's the director of the Cyber Statecraft Initiative at the Atlantic Council, and he basically compared Volt Typhoon to a digital time bomb just waiting to detonate on American soil. Take a listen.
And while, maybe you don't think the Chinese military would pull the trigger, they're certainly on public record in unclassified hearings and information in U.S. water facilities, for example. And I'm not comfortable living under a sword of Damocles that, where they can hold us hostage because we've allowed ourselves to be so prone.
Now, if you want to go deeper either into Volt Typhoon specifically or this water hacking threat more broadly, we here at Facts Matter actually published a fairly lengthy and very good, if I can say so myself, episode on this not too very long ago. You can find that the link to that earlier episode down in the description box below, which is, of course, right below those like and subscribe buttons, both of which I hope you smash so this video can reach ever more people. Because interestingly, that episode on the water cybersecurity threat we published about, I believe, 2 years ago. And of course, there were already incidents back then, but we listed Iran as a possible threat actor. And here we are. This is another example of that threat. Physical, real-world infrastructure getting targeted not by a bomb or something mechanical or physical, but instead by just lines of code being sent from across the globe 5,000 miles away. It's a big security threat, so check out that earlier episode if you want to dive deeper into it. And also, on a related topic, Volt Typhoon appears to just be one sort of tentacle in the Chinese Communist Party's very broad campaign against the U.S. And we published a phenomenal documentary called The Final War, where we delved relatively deep and exposed this 100-year-long plan by the CCP to take down America without firing a single bullet, to infiltrate our economy, our supply chains, and our systems, like our water supply system. So if you want to check that out, because I guess the first step to really guarding yourself and your family is just to understand the threat that's actually out there and to be clear-eyed about it, because you know, one thing that the CCP is able to do is to implement and actually execute on these very long, drawn-out plans, like their 100-year-long plan to take down America, because they're not actually subject to real elections. So they can just kind of keep things going in the background without having a new administration come in and change things up. And so it's a really good idea to understand what they're implementing and how they're exploiting America's open system against us. So check it out. The link to The Final War will be down there at the top of the description box. You can click on that link and head on over and watch the film for yourself. I would highly recommend it.
The American people are standing on the edge of a cliff.
I'm a father. Like every dad, I want to see my kids grow and prosper. And I'm afraid for their future.
This is the most ambitious regime in history.
The Epoch Times investigation team had studied the CCP for years. But this time, what we uncovered was yielding evidence beyond our imagination.
Hide our strength and bide our time.
Yes, we're in World War III now.
We are in a world war with the Chinese Communist Party without realizing it.
The new Chinese military is the only one being developed anywhere in the world today that is specifically configured to fight the United States of America.
China's strategic goal is to make sure that the U.S. has 4 enemies, and one of them must be a terrorist group.
It is terrible that CCP has gotten so far along in this 100-year plan, but they've gotten really close to succeeding. Prepare to live in a world where you can be arrested for watching this documentary.
Destroying the free world and your life, your happiness, and your children's future.
And a new generation of Americans will be trained to obey the CCP.
We must live, you must die. This is straight out of the communist playbook.
We are giving of our life's blood so that the Chinese Communist Party can survive and thrive.
And then, until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed, and most importantly, stay free.